welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Brother and Sister Podcast. We got a special guest in the house today. Well, she ain't in the house, she in another city, uh, by way of Colorado, is it?
hmm
Cool. Yeah. Y'all, I like to introduce to y'all. Well, first off, I am your host, Bug Flavor. My co-host is Miss Tressa Missioner, and I would like to introduce you to Miss
Treneti Brown. Treneti,
Yes, Treneti.
yes.
Nancy. How you doing today?
A beautiful name, Treneti.
Thank
Yes,
you.
it's beautiful name. And like, I just want to start off with, I didn't have a chance to read all your book, but I kind of read some of it, which I'm gonna go back and finish because it was so amazing. Um, it was very amazing and very well detailed. I really like it a lot. So you want to kind of just kind of, I'm gonna ask like, what inspired you to write such a book like you did?
Yeah, so the inspiration was the people that I attract in my life. I attract a lot of artists and just creative minds, people who have like visions and things. They want to change the world, they want to make a positive impact,
Right,
but didn't really know how to, or like, a lot of times people who have powerful intentions have also been through powerful pain, and the struggle that the inner critic can bring to us from that trauma or whatever it is we went through can be a wall in the
right,
way of us pursuing our like creative gifts. And God blessed me in this way where from a very little girl I saw my art as my sanctuary. And so from probably about the time I was 11, I was like playing around with different ways to make money with my art. Like
right,
having little like jewelry making, selling stuff on the beach, whatever it was, little inner city kid stuff, into professional dance companies by the time I was like 12, dancing praise dance at church, all these different things. And that grew and grew and grew into like just a full lifetime of having a professional career as an artist, and not just as an artist, but as an independent artist. I've always like had boundaries around like how I want my energy to be used, or where I wanted to be seen. And so in my adult life, I started to attract a lot of people who wanted to do that. And
right.
so I had a practice where I was like working with clients one on one. I still do sometimes when people come. I'm thinking about running like a visionary strategy session, little special book.
Right.
But yeah, that work with them and then the work of my whole life made me want to make this book, because I was like, okay, well, I can only reach so many people one on one. I also am at a period in my life where I'm really pushing to the next level with my own artistry and businesses. So I was like, how can I like kind of transition out of this style of work in and like still make an impact, and maybe even make a bigger impact than I am able to one on one with people.
I can
But
tell you highly intelligent to be. You look super young and like super experienced in life. Like it's so amazing. I'm very impressed by that. Just reading that you from what Chicago, Inglewood,
Mm-hmm.
Chicago. Tell us
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about that. How was that growing up? That was kind of rough around the edges there, huh?
Oh my goodness, Inglewood in the 90s.
Oh, yeah, okay. Nice, cool.
when I when I get so my big goal for my companies and everything is to create an animation series that teaches people how to overcome trauma. And my life and the stories of what happened in Inglewood are going to definitely be a big part
Right.
of that story. It was a definitely dynamic experience. Like especially in the 90s, it was really raw back then. It's kind of like a time where is still a lot of that energy is still there.
Right.
Just the feeling of violence kind of always around, and poverty. And back in the day when I was there, there was still like big mama energy. So there was
Right.
grandmothers. My grandmother was one of the big mamas on the block. Like there was that energy that held it down and protected us. I'm not sure if there's a lot of that still. It seems like that culture is starting to like diminish a little bit, but that was a blessing that we had like the block big mamas to hold it down and like kind of regulate on
Right.
the boys that were like doing all the
Big Mama for
thuggery.
real. Everybody got a big mama somewhere.
Yeah. But it was good to have them. But yeah, it was very challenging, especially being kind of different. I was like the kid that was called the Oreo because I just had a differentness about me that didn't fit in. So that was a definite thing to navigate.
Right. And another big part that I read, that you just surrounded by love was a big thing. You know, everybody,
Yeah.
all your family surrounded you with love, and that kind of inspired you to do what you do, and it helped you along your journey. You know what I'm saying? That's real big.
Hmm. Yeah, it's real big. Like I like the rule was kind of like don't cry till you get home. Like
Right.
that was the rule.
Don't let nobody else see it, huh?
Yeah, don't let nobody else see you cry. So I would like sometimes like be
Yeah,
like open the door, fall on the floor.
I get it.
I get it. I get it. I remember those days myself there.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
said, the artistry is amazing. Like I said, just you're doing the dance, the music, and just a little bit of everything. And that's just like me as well, because if I'm going through something and you got so much turmoil and so much of this and that around you, it's like being able to be creative, like kind of put you on your own little island and kind of like you can do your thing and that's what kind of holds me together as well, because I do music, I do, I can wake up and do music, or I can wake up and I can do a video, and I can wake up and I can
Hmm.
do so many different things, and it's just so much of a blessing. And I kind of feel where you're coming from, because like, when you like in your mind is somewhere else, you can always get in your studio or your wherever your creative place is and just create, and that's like one of the best feelings in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a way to get into the flow state and like the silence. And for me, also prayer. Sometimes I have a really overactive mind. And like sometimes, like if I'm just thinking about something that happened, like that's actually like the worst thing for me to do
Right.
is like going into the studio or something and just kind of going in a flow state and letting God communicate through the creative process. And then sometimes solutions will come through, or like the energy will dissolve. You realize something that you thought was a problem isn't really that big of a problem, or like just being in that energy makes a palpability for magical solutions to come in through God's grace. At least that's what it has been for me. And also, like, growing up as an inner city child, there's so much in your environment that you have. I feel like most children feel like this. Like, there's so much in your environment you just don't control. You have no
Right.
control over your life, like, at all for a long time. And, like, so to have a project, like, something that you're working on, like, I would get all the girls together, like, at school that liked to dance, and we would, like, make up dances, and we'd, like, get the school to let us throw a show. Like when Aaliyah passed, I got the school to like let us do a memorial concert, and we got to choreograph like 13 Aaliyah songs, and I got all the girls together.
So,
And like,
so,
just having something where you're like, okay, we have a goal, and the only thing in the way of us achieving it is like us. Like, and that's what art is. It's like it's the one thing that like the main factor between you and your success is you.
Yes.
right.
And there's not many things like that in life.
Right. And Trinity, I want to tell you, this aligned action planner. Oh my God.
Yeah.
When I read this, I could not put it down.
Right.
So I'm advising everybody to get a copy of this action
Get
planner.
a copy. This is
I'm,
it won't have that bar on it, but
I'm
get a
definitely
copy.
gonna get it. And look, as
So,
soon as Russell started reading it, she called me. She's like,
oh,
"Listen to this," and she just went in, just
I
started
kept
reading.
reading and kept reading. So I just want to dive into it a little bit, because everybody who is searching for answers needs to read this.
Right.
It was so inspirational, so well done, so detailed. I mean, the knowledge that you have with the connection with the soul and the energy that you carry is just amazing, how God has gifted you and graced you with. So it was a part where I read, it says, see how powerful you are in working through illusions.
Hmm.
Me and my brother have always talked about, because we've been through so much in life, like when we get through certain things, we look back and it was an illusion. And it's so many illusions in the world. And can you talk about this? Because just like I said, it's so well versed, and this is so, every person, I don't care what their belief is, they need to read.
Hmm.
Right. And it's like on the words you chose and the detail that you chose, it's almost like a telepathic, like, oh, real recognize real right here. I can connect to what she's saying, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's
Yes.
definitely
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I
And that's
try to write like a transmission, like so that each word is meaningful and it's activating you. There's not a word that's like not supposed to like touch you in a certain way. Similar to the way I compose music, it's like a hug for the parts of you that like physical touch can't touch. And yeah, so the part about illusions, you want me to go into
yeah,
that?
please, yes.
Yeah, so the that part, being able to recognize illusions and work through them is really intricate, and it like it can show up in so many different ways. Like like everybody who has the desire to create, it's coming from some type of sensitivity. It's coming from some type of like, oh wow, I'm aware of this thing in a certain way, and I'm not sure if other people are aware in this way, or I think maybe having like this perception of this awareness is going to help people. So with that though, that's the blessing. The curse is also that other people can recognize that that don't necessarily always have your best interest in mind. They'll like and so but because you're a dreamer, we can be a little bit more like susceptible, if you will, to shiny things. You're like, oh, this might help me. And so it's just like being developed, it's a skill, you know, it's like developing that skill of discernment of like, instead of just taking what is presented at face value, being confident in yourself enough and having, we talk a lot about worth in the book, being in alignment with the practice, because it is a practice of self-worth enough where you feel that you can ask qualifying questions to any situation, be curious about any situation that comes your way, and not feel like you just got to take it or like be like consume into it or immerse yourself into it just because it sounds good, just because you should do it, just because this person's painting that picture the right way. Because I'm sure all three of us, based on what you guys just said, have had experiences where, you know, our younger version didn't know that, went
Yeah.
into something head on, and then was like, oh my goodness, this is definitely not what it was presented to me as. And like, could I have asked a few more questions and maybe prevented this lesson? Like, we don't have to take every course that's offered.
That's exactly right. It's
Like,
it's just so good that you brought that up in the book, because I think the world doesn't understand that so many things are illusions. And just like you said, you jump on it sometimes because of your culture, your background, or things you've
mm-hmm,
seen, or things you've worked through in your life, and you thought, okay, this is the path I need to take, but you didn't work through the illusion of it to see,
mm-hmm,
okay, when I get to the other side, what is it going to be? And half of the time, the illusion it's not what you portrayed in your mind before you got
mm-hmm.
involved in it. And
Yeah.
it's just so amazing that you brought that about. And then you talked about the devotion and dedication and discipline equals the commitment. Can you
Mm-hmm,
talk to us about, because you gave the different definition, sorry, of devotion and of dedication. So
mm-hmm,
you explain the difference, because that right there was a major eye opener, and will be a major eye opener to people who are trying to get to, another level in life, when they're doing different things for us to be successful and continue on their positive walk. So that
mm-hmm.
devotion and that dedication, they're going to need that.
Yes, absolutely. And this is one I started to discern this when I realized that every client that I had didn't have this. Like, it was something I kind of took for granted inside of myself. And then when I started working with people, I'm like, what is the missing link? Like, and it would be one of those three things. It wouldn't like there would be a missing link. So devotion, and as we talk about it in the book, and this is how I feel in my life, that's the prayer. So regardless of like whether you pray, whatever you believe is bigger than you, that you pray to or you see as like that omniscient energy, that's the first level of devotion, is to have whatever it is that you're doing be in alignment with that energy. And or a prayer getting to know, of intimacy with that energy. Then the second layer of devotion is what's the communication? What's the medium of that? If you have a creative gift, is it writing? Is it singing? Is it playing musical instruments? Is it painting? Whatever it is. And then bringing those energies together. So it's like, I have my morning prayer time. I like to sit and like read. Sometimes I'll read my Bible a little bit. Sometimes I'll read something else inspirational, have my morning coffee, kind of sit, let my thoughts land. But then also a part of that is my evening practice, which is a big part of like singing and like being in my creative element and all of that. So that's the devotion. And that is like this willingness to show up in the spirit of it. The dedication and the discipline, that's where not everybody stays on the bus usually. Like, sometimes because it's like,
yeah, go ahead, I'm listening. Go ahead.
yeah, and I want to make sure that I explain this exactly how it is written in the book. So I'm going to go to the page. I also want to show y'all the page. So this is the page in the book. Oh, the light isn't letting me show it. It's too white. Okay, never mind. You guys don't have to get the book to see it.
Yes, we do.
So like
two elements equal success, but you got to go through those to get it.
Yeah, you gotta. So the devotion is like the knowingness. It's like that's where the passion lives, and you gotta keep that flame alive because that's what you need. That's gonna be your cold sip of water without all the other energy. So, but the dedication is like when you actually sit down. This is where the masculine energy comes in. It's like, okay, like this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I'm pursuing. What do I need to do to be the best version of myself in it? What do I need to do to continue to harness and hone that devotion and to show up in dedication to it? That could be a regular practice. That could be like the business elements of it. Like if it's something that you're monetizing, showing up to do the things that you need to do. Sometimes those things are going to be an edge for you, not easy for you to do. And the discipline piece goes with the dedication, because the dedication is where you make the commitment. You're like, I am going to have this practice every day or 3 times a week. I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to, there's an event, I'm definitely going. There's this I'm going to do. Like, that's where you make those command statements, where you make the promise between you and yourself, witnessed by God, that you're going to show up. Right. And then the discipline is the part where you actually show up.
right. That's
the part. I like to use this analogy of like, okay, so if somebody you like somebody, you're about to date them or whatever, and then they like invite you to dinner, and the first time they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Last minute, they're like, I can't make it. I'm so sorry, something came up. You might be like, okay. Then the second time, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't. Something came up. The third time, you show up, they ghost you. You probably ain't gonna talk to them no more, right? Right. You're gonna be like, forget that. Like,
you're out of here.
You're out of here. So how do you think your dream, the inner child, how do you think that part of you feels every time you don't have the discipline to show up for the dedication? Right. Eventually, and that's how kind of, depression and like it can feed that inner critic, and like you can kind of dig yourself a hole where you have to do some inner repair before that aspect of you, the inner child, the dream, the vision, is willing to talk to you again and show up. So we want to keep them aligned, because that is real commitment, and commitment leads to confidence.
Mm-hmm. And you just have a way with wording. And I'm gonna I know Nala's got plenty of questions too. So I'm gonna let him jump back on it, and then I come back, because I have so many questions that because just like I said, this book was unreal. I had to even go back and reread some stuff because I was just so at all of because it's all with the inner workings. And that's the part that I love, and that's the part that I teach, and that's the part that I dream, and that's the part that I try to extend to other people, like you said, with trauma, to bring them out of that trauma, to deal with that inner child, so that that child can develop and become that adult, so that they can live a different life, a life of freedom, a life of peace. And even though being in this type work, your book was just like, oh, wow, I have got to ask Treneti, can I teach this in a seminar or what? It's just
Yeah.
so awesome because people need this. This is real stuff, and the terminology and the knowledge that you have of it is just so amazing. And it, and I just thank God for you, because just like when we first met, you immediately said that, I want to connect with you. It's just something. And our spirits was in alignment. And then when I read this, I'm like, oh my God, she was right. She was definitely connected to me, because this is the same inner workings and the skill set level that I want to have. And you have a level of mastery of this work that you're doing, that in this book, that's just like outstanding.
Yeah,
And
because she
Thank you
called me
so
one day,
much.
like she called me the fifth time and said, "Listen to this part." I was
yes,
like,
I
"You
kept
don't
calling,
read me half the
I kept calling
book."
him. And then I finished with him, and then I told my husband, "Oh, hey, hold
Oh
on,
my goodness.
listen to this. Let me read this part to you. Let me read this part to you." I just
What I'm
I
saying,
couldn't
to
put
be
it
so
down.
young and have this type of knowledge is rare.
Yes.
You rarely see that. So, and that's why we're so impressed with you. Like, to be this young and just have that much knowledge, and when we listen to you, we know what you're talking about, and it lines up with just the right way.
It
It's
lines
just
up with the spirit. It lines up with everything we have been through in life, and had to
right.
learn a lot of things the hard way. And just like some things we couldn't prevent, some things we could prevent, but
Hmm.
just learning that and then changing our lives for the better, and now trying to help other people and inspire them that, hey, you don't have to make these mistakes that we made, because we're here to teach you, we're here to help you.
Yes,
And to find
yes.
someone like you on that same level, that's really advanced in your knowledge. And just like I said, this your book, man, oh my God. But now let's go ahead before I take over the whole show,
Well,
because
I mean, like even for
with
instance, when you say like eating and all this stuff now, like it's hard for me to discipline
diet,
myself from eating because I eat and I eat, and
that's part of the discipline.
I'm
Oh, the
trying to,
space. Are you the
yes,
different types of space when I
yes,
was talking?
yes, and I read that part, and like, I noticed like when you go down the grocery, when you go to the grocery store, I know that everything on the outside is more of the healthier stuff, and everything inside is the more of the stuff you should eat.
Yeah.
Just being disciplined about eating and all this stuff. Like I said, when we was coming up, food was put on the table, and if you don't eat it, you're gonna be hungry. Like,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
what I'm saying? But as you
mm-hmm.
get older and grow up, and you can afford your own food, now you want to start eating more healthy. You don't want to eat all this heavy meats that you don't need, and all this processed stuff. And it's just I mean, like, was you always disciplined in that, or that's something you had to kind of grow into, or how did it work out?
Oh my goodness, I was so sick. I had to so full disclaimer, I know I look really young. I take good care of myself. I'm 33. I'll be 34. I know for some people that's still like, oh, you a baby. But the
I
book
was
is
like
like a
22,
solid at
24.
least 22 years of knowledge. I consider my 11th year of life the moment where I stepped onto the devotional path with art. And I was a very independent child, come from a single mother who was only like 19 years older than me. She saw me, I was like a kind of straight A student, also very rebellious and rambunctious, so she was like, she does better when I don't tell her what to do. So like I had like this like infinite freedom
Right.
to kind of explore. But I grew up eating soul food. I grew up with processed stuff. Like we were very poor. There was a lot of cheese toast dinners. There was a lot of ramen. My mom did her best. She was an amazing chef. When we had like money and stuff, she would like spin the globe and cook me something from some part of the world. But I grew up in Chicago public school with public school food and crazy stuff. And I had a gluten intolerance, didn't know about it. By the time I was 22, I had developed Hashimoto autoimmune disorder. I was very sick. I was fainting, losing my eyebrows. My thyroid was failing. And I started to cleanse with juice fasting, and did a very like a specific detox for gluten and all of that at that age, and started to repair my body and health from there. And it was a rocky journey, because at first I got caught up in fads, like the whole vegetarian veganism fad, and all that did was actually lead me down a different pathway of sickness, where I actually didn't have enough protein or iron to be a healthy functioning human. And so a few years into that, I started to lose my hair. I started to become unable to create. I lost connection to my creative life force energy. It was very spacey. I got into like the most abusive relationship I've ever been in my life because I lost my willpower and my fire through like, and it was a big part of it was through those dietary choices that really disconnected me from myself. On the other side of that arc, what I learned is that like healthy whole foods is the answer. And our ancestors know the way. All these health conditions with food and stuff only started when we started to mass produce and manufacture animals in high fear environments, and also processing and putting chemicals and things in food that don't need to be there. So I eat a very high fat diet and a high protein, high meat diet because I have to keep my iron up and I use a lot of mental energy. So my diet looks like bison, elk, steak, root vegetables, some baby greens, lots of spices, really heavy on the spices from North Africa and like that whole region to keep my blood circulation flowing, and just not eating anything artificial and really, really low sugar intake. I don't hardly eat anything with sugar at all. My coffee's bitter, everything bitter, and that's what works for me. But what I say in the book and what I want everybody listening to this to say is like to really listen. Like the best thing you could do is give yourself a cleanse, because like the signals and stuff inside of your body, that might not be the true you craving the things that you're craving. There could be little critters. Like I in my practice, so what I've been doing with sound and frequency therapy, I do detoxes for people with frequency therapy. I can do it remote or in person, cleanse parasites out of your system. There's different herbal protocols you can do to cleanse. And once you do that, then you start slowly reintroducing healthy whole foods and seeing how your body reacts, seeing what lights you up, what brings you down. There's like a huge trend of like not eating meat and not eating heavy foods. I think that's a way to really quickly disassociate for a lot of people that malnourished, the not feeling heavy, not that means you're not in your body for a lot of people. And yeah, you can see a lot of stuff. You have a lot of hallucinations and be feeling really light, but that doesn't mean that that's good. And and all that stuff that you don't want to feel, that you feel when you eat a steak, you're still gonna, it's there. It's not going anywhere until until you heal and work through it. So that's my kind of like read on that. It's just like, chemicals are not, we're just not supposed to be eating chemicals.
Right. And by everybody's body being different, I guess it's to each his own, whatever satisfies your body type of deal.
Listen to your body. What you're saying, listen to your body as you're eating these food. Pay attention.
Yeah.
So
And that's a big through line throughout the book in general, with all aspects of the creative process and self-love and intuitive guidance. Is like, it's all about developing this like full, like imagine every single pore, every single cell in your body is an ear, and you can hear through it, and like listening to your body. How are you responding even to certain decisions, like get the nuance of like the nuance of should, of like when we do things because we should, but if it's like making you feel all weird and gross inside, is that really what you should be doing?
Right. Like the whole book is basically like you're saying, is pay attention to your real self, because you got to become intimate with you, and that's how you become more intimate with God, and just paying attention to your real self. But I have a question about one thing you wrote here, where you say see time as rhythm. So give me a little bit on that. We down to like 9 minutes. Gotta hurry up.
Get the drum kit.
Hey, I make beats too. I'm gonna sing you some beats. I'm just
Hey, let's collab. I make beats too.
I got you. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So we got like,
rhythm. Tell us about that. See time as rhythm before we run out of time.
Yeah. So that's in the part of the book where we start to get into the rhythm trackers and holistic planning, which is a huge superpower skill. If you can figure out when your body wants to do stuff and align and do it in that moment when it wants to, Like my body don't want to send emails at 8 p.m.
Right.
My dyslexia is on fleet at
Right.
8 p.m. It's gonna be all sorts of typos.
Right.
So like finding that's talking about the biodynamic rhythm of the self. But when I say see time as rhythm, this is like a gym for your mental health, because especially now more than ever, I was born in that cusp. I got to see the world without social media for a little while, and then it happened. Y'all had way more time, and like people are crazy now because of that instant gratification. You see just these little glimpses of people's moments. You think their whole life is awesome. Everything is like available. You can buy something on Amazon in 10 seconds. Like everything's instant,
Right.
instant. But that's not real. That goes back to illusions. That's not real. That's not really what's happening. And
Right.
so when you see time as rhythm, and I give an image of like a waveform, and like the movement of a waveform of sound, that's what life is like.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
going to be peaks and there's going to be valleys. There's going to be time where there's a lot of activity. There's going to be time where there's a little bit of activity. It's going to be very loud sometimes.
1/16, 1/32.
Yeah, exactly. You might get some polyrhythms up in there. You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
Right.
But if you see it as that, then like we can dance with it and like be in a space of like not just being consumed by the rhythm of
Right.
like, if something swings down, because it's going to, like, I'll be completely honest, that this book releasing and the whole process of this year as I've been writing it, I've been in a dark night and an initiation, and things in my life that I didn't even know were not for me, God has been stripping away from me. And there's been a lot of challenges and a lot of feeling of like working on things, tending a soil without seeing a seedling pop up, like growing a redwood tree or something. And like that, but like understanding that time is rhythm, understanding that there might be some other things blooming over here while this is still during this process dormant in the soil, and or this thing might be completely collapsing and tower burning over there. That doesn't mean there's not something growing over here. Or if everything is burning down, then like so be it. It's only a moment and there will be another moment, and we have to remember that rhythm, and know that the one thing that we can regulate, and I won't say control, but I'll say regulate in that process, is our experience of it.
Right.
Man, I can feel it.
Yeah.
It's amazing how you put things, man.
I'm
That's
telling
beautiful.
you, it's so amazing. And I can't wait to get you back on other shows as well.
Part two, man.
Because we have so much to talk about. We
Oh
probably,
yeah.
like he said, we might need to do a part 2 of this, because you have so much in the book to give the world that they need to hear it. They need to tell somebody else about it, because this work will help people to understand, to get intimate with yourself. You know, it's getting intimate with yourself, but it's also getting intimate with God, because there's a plan. And just like you said, especially when you talk on like people with us that's always creating and always doing something different, which is that creative being, and getting to know that creative being. And like you said, you're going to have the highs and you're going to have the lows, you're going to have the peaks, you're going to have the valleys, but you have to work through the illusion, and you have to keep going until you get to the end. Don't let up on dedication, because you have to see your end process, because the gift and the talent is in there, but you have to keep pushing and keep working it and keep working it. Get to the result of what God really has for you. And just like you said, it comes with it, that stripping away. It may be stripping away something you really care about, or something that, you know, you really, really desired. But God is saying, no, this is not for you. This is not the timing for you. And that thing has to be stripped away. So you need to be intimate to understand, okay, I have to let go of part 1 so I can get to part 2. So
Yeah.
just understanding those rhythms is, you know, just like I said, I couldn't put it down. Really could not put it down. And I have so much more to ask and so many more questions that I really think we need to do a part 2 on this.
I'm super here for that. I would
Yeah.
love to do a part 2, and it's such an honor to receive that from you as an also an amazing bestseller writer. And when I first just even heard a glimpse of your story, I was like, I gotta know this woman. When I heard like what your mission was and what you're out here doing, I was like, we gotta collaborate. We have to co-create some spaces. And I knew that we were like on the same page. And I'm really honored, Pug, to be here with you too. And the music, let's see what we can do. Let's make it
That's
happen.
Do it.
But yeah, I'm super happy to come back and have a part two. And yeah, I just, like there's going to be, I'm sure, podcast notes, and very receptive if anybody wants to reach out. The book is for sale. I'm not sure when this is going to come out, but I know the soft cover is available to be shipped before Christmas if you're trying to get it for a gift. But it's out there, and yeah, spread the love. If you have a dream that you're trying to, huh?
Sorry. Let them know how they can purchase the book, where they can purchase
Yeah.
it.
Yes. It's very simple. You're just gonna purchase it on Amazon. If you look up Aligned Action Planner for Creative Souls, by my pen name is Treneti Octavia Truth. If you look that up, you will find it. It looks like this. It's probably backwards in the screen, but it's a very it doesn't have this bar. This is like the proof copy. But yeah, and hopefully there could be a link in the notes to get to it, and that's where you get it.
Yes, we would definitely put it on there. And just like I said, we got some more shows coming up. We got a podcast coming up for Black History Month called Can.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be hosting and be co-hosting with another with Sheila Steppy. So we will definitely be bringing you back here so we can go over some more of your stuff, because this is what we want to do. We want to enlighten people. We want them to, some people just are trying to figure out how to get that connection with God. I've even had someone ask me that, how did you have so many experiences with God? And just reflecting on your work, that will help them to get to that space that they need to get to, so that they can have that creativity with God, and so that they can begin to sense the love of God and stuff, because it's there. It's there.
Yes.
He desires that relationship.
Yes. Risk, though.
Yeah, like
It's
her,
not there if there's no risk.
right.
Well,
Her as a kid, it was nothing like that. And when she got her situation, when she got delivered, it was a whole nother person. I was so amazed because her aura, her words, she was like you at that point. I was like,
Yeah.
man, stuff. I gotta look this up. I can't even understand what you're saying. I mean, she was so advanced as
Ask it, you
well.
shall receive.
and
It's
that's
just a
what happened.
beautiful thing to watch her transformation.
Yeah.
And you remind me of her, and like your whole your whole aura about you, and just a beautiful person inside out. It's just amazing, and I'm honored to have you on the show, and I'm honored
Thank you.
So we're under.
Honored to be here.
Yep. So we're under a minute, Pooh. So you want to go ahead and close us out?
All right, please like, subscribe to any of our social media platforms. Miss Trinity, Janetta, do you want to tell them where they can reach you at or anything? Or
Yes, you can.
If you had something to tell the world, what would you tell them, and your other information as well?
Yeah, so the last note that I want to leave people on about the Aligned Action Planner and just pursuing your creative goals is, whatever you've been through that has harmed you, that has hurt you, that has made you feel less